back on the bicentennial of the U.S. Constitution. I serve on the board of the Center for Civic Education, and I have spent a good portion of my career providing civic education to people living in the Middle East, particularly Iran, where I'm originally from.
And let's let Anna do her thing.
Oh, I thought that something seemed odd.
No worries. We were just going to roll with it. Okay, my name is Anna Carlton. This will be the Unit 1 hearing for the We the People National Finals. In a moment, I will have all of the judges introduce themselves, followed by the students, and then we will begin the hearing. Students will deliver a 4-minute prepared statement, followed by 8 minutes of judges' questions. My microphone will be muted during the hearing, and I will be holding up the 1 minute and time signs. I suggest that you use gallery view rather than speaker view. At the conclusion of the hearing, the judges will give brief feedback to the team, and then we will conclude, and I am recording. Now, if the judges will introduce themselves.
I've introduced myself, so.
I'll go next. So I don't know if it's the final set of teams for the weekend, but we have not since lunch had a seamless introduction. And I'll tell you, South Carolina group, I just told the team from another state that I have family that are Gamecocks, and they just looked at me with blank stares because it was the wrong state. So we got Gamecock family. I don't know if that's good or bad. I hope you're not Clemson people, but that's okay.
Yikes. We
Okay.
got them right here.
Oh, no. Well, that's not going to hurt your scoring, but I am coming from Tallahassee, Florida, where I work for the Florida Department of Education. And we do have the Florida State Seminoles right down the street from me, about 2 miles from my house. So, the Clemson. All right, moving on.
And hi, guys. My name is Tandy McConnell, and I, too, am from South Carolina. What high school are you guys at?
We're at Wilson Hall.
Wilson Hall. That's down in Charleston, right?
Sumter.
Sumter, I'm sorry. Well, I spent about 20 years of my career as a professor of history at Columbia College up here in Columbia. And then about 4 years ago, I decided to do something more interesting. So I became a high school history teacher. And right now I'm teaching AP World and Human Geography at Ridgeview High School, which y'all may play us in basketball or football or something. But it's great to be here with you, and I'm glad to be able to see a team from South Carolina.
Okay. Hello, my name is Gavin Mathis.
Hi, my name is Warren Jolliker.
Hi, I'm Charles Seegers.
And our teacher is Coach O'Hare, but
Tom O'Hare.
Yeah.
I'm Mr. O'Hare, and thank you so much for getting these guys here. Okay. I am going to go ahead and read our Unit 1 question. Unit 1 is the philosophical and historical foundations of the American political system. Our question today is the second one. Parliament passed the Habeas Corpus Act of 1679. What is habeas corpus? And to what extent, if any, is it essential to the principle of limited government? How has the writ of habeas corpus evolved in the United States? Under what circumstances, if any, might the writ of habeas corpus place an unreasonable burden on the government? Please begin.
So what is habeas corpus? The classical definition is a writ that the defendant asks for, where they are brought before court and the prosecution must show lawful grounds for detention.
Which you can see in the Latin version of habeas corpus, which means you shall have the body.
And it might seem kind of odd to have a reason or to ask someone, why are you being thrown in jail? Or say you have to know why you're being thrown in jail. But historically, kings, especially in the medieval period in England, I believe in 1679 is when their habeas corpus act was passed. But historically, kings would use habeas corpus, or not the lack of habeas corpus, I should say, to throw people in jail, in prison without any reason for detention. They weren't allowed to see a court of law. And over time, they would be completely either just stay in jail, their businesses would rot away, and they would completely lose their livelihood. So the reason why we have a habeas corpus today is to ensure that no one is unlawfully detained and must know why they're being detained so that they can have a full defense.
Which means that habeas corpus is very important to keep the government limited, because if we did not have habeas corpus, our president, Congress, judiciary maybe could just haphazardly throw people in jail with like no rhyme or reason at all, and then we don't get to see a court, we don't get to see the evidence, we're just kind of thrown in there left to rot.
Right, and that's really important when you consider our foundations. We are a free country. You know, we're different from a communist North Korea who's a dictatorship. We are free people, and having a limited government is extremely important to that. And having habeas corpus means that we are free people.
In the U.S. system, federal courts can use the writ of habeas corpus to determine if a state's detention of a prisoner is valid. This is also used to bring a prisoner or another detainee before the court to determine if the person's imprisonment or detention is lawful. But in Namahatsu versus the United States,
Korematsu,
sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Korematsu versus the United States, the Japanese people were not given this right because they were thrown in detention centers and they were not allowed to go before a court and see why they were being thrown in jail after Pearl Harbor or anything like this. But it was for public safety. That's why the courts and everything did it, was for public safety, but it went against their right of writ of habeas corpus because they were not allowed to go before a court.
And it's funny, I believe actually Hugo Black, the judge who swayed the court into a pro deterrent camps, actually said that was his, I think, only regret over time was that Korematsu versus U.S. decision where the habeas corpus was suspended.
So throughout history, throughout the U.S. history, habeas corpus has been a burden in many cases. Ever since Charles Pinckney, a delegate from South Carolina, had introduced it to the Constitutional Convention, and thankfully our founding fathers had saw this and see how it could end up hurting us in times of great, like needing speed to like assist us in many times of war, terrorism, public safety, and things like that.
It's actually interesting that the founding fathers knew exactly how important habeas corpus was to our Constitution, but they didn't actually have a line where it says habeas corpus, etc. It says that Congress is not allowed to suspend habeas corpus.
Okay.
And additionally,
No.
That's it. That's good. Very good. All right. You might not have noticed that a couple sentences before you stopped talking that the time was up. Fantastic.
Right.
Thank you very much. You guys are a team and you cover each other and you listen to each other, and that's clear. And I think you hit the major issues. You made the importance of
Need to
habeas
ask
corpus.
them questions.
So sorry, Anna. I apologize.
I
All
was
right.
just thinking you were building to a really difficult question.
Okay, that was 30 seconds of maybe we need to give them extra. My apologies. Okay, so Anna, 30 seconds, please. My question to you is, do these protections provide for a more resilient, a stronger country? Do you think the United States is stronger because we have these protections compared to a country like China, our chief adversary, where these protections are entirely lacking? Do you think we have some advantages over China because of these rights?
Quite personally, I believe we as a people definitely have a stronger right and have advantages over the Chinese people and North Korean people who doesn't have these rights, because to them it's more about nobility probably, and more about your status rather than your hard work. And based off of that, we have more freedom in choosing what we do.
I would agree with him, but I'm going to come in from a little bit of a different angle. I wholeheartedly agree that we are, I'll say better, for lack of a better word, better than the Chinese people because of our habeas corpus. That's because we are free. You can see that although, in a communist country, they are technically free, you can see that there's a lot of police oversight. People are constantly scared of what they might say. There's a social credit system. You are worried what the government might, how it might influence you. While right here, right now in America, more or less, we're allowed to say what we want, and we have no fear of being thrown in jail for something that we say or something that we do, as long as we know it follows our court of law. While China, they live in fear of their own judiciary because they might not know what their court of law is.
And I believe if you're asking it from a more military and globalist sense about like how we look on the global stage, I believe it also makes us look stronger as a writ of habeas corpus, as our people tend to be seen as more happier. And it really gives us something to fight for, that we do have the freedom that we do.
Let me follow up on that with a similar kind of question. The examples you gave of the suspension of habeas corpus were generally things that didn't work out. So Korematsu turned out to be one of the great embarrassments in American history, of things that were we really, like you said, Justice Blackmun really regretted being swayed to support that. Would we be better off changing the Constitution to simply say the right of habeas corpus will not be suspended, period? Would we be better off?
I do believe so, because this would stop more events from happening, just like Korematsu versus the United States, because therefore no more people could just be thrown in jail without having like a reason to be thrown in jail in like China or any other communist countries. So I do believe that it would help to just go ahead and put in there that the writ of habeas corpus is in for good, because nobody would be able to be thrown.
But are there situations in the 21st century that might absolutely require that, in spite of all our idealism?
Yes, sir, for sure. With the inventions of computers coming up and throughout our history, there's been many times where the suspension of habeas corpus has been an embarrassment. This is true. However, the government still needs to have the power to suspend habeas corpus, especially now where broad, wide-scale attacks can happen at any second, at any moment. And the government needs a way to respond immediately, to throw people in jail, and to do this to protect the public safety. And examples of this could be like post 9/11. Yes, they didn't really, I don't actually know if they suspended habeas corpus during that.
You could say that the, I believe it's the freedom, not amendment, but the, when the Congress was allowed to spy in on people's phones to see whether or not they'd be terrorists and stuff like that. You could say that was a suspension of habeas corpus in a sense. I'm going to take it in a little bit of a different direction there. You can see today that with like gun control, for example, whether you're pro or against gun control, you can see in like red flag laws that perhaps habeas corpus is suspended, where red flag laws allow a state or a police to take someone's weapons without a reason. And that reason can be from an outside person, a family member, a doctor, or something like that. And it's not consensual in that sense.
So sorry, I had to cut my video off just for bandwidth here. Let's take it future forward looking, 2021 and beyond. Can you provide maybe an example of an event where habeas corpus would be justified in being suspended?
I think possible terrorism, and whether it's domestic or external.
What would lead to that justification? Where's the line to say this is why it's justified?
Immediate and probable cause are the two reasons that I think need to be put into consideration.
Okay, so specifically, New York City, well, the state suspended habeas corpus. I think the justification had something to do with interfering with police activity, or maybe it was COVID. I don't remember the exact justification. But and it was in response to Black Lives Matter resulting riots. Would an event like that, would you agree it's a time to suspend habeas corpus or no?
I believe that due to the rioting and the destruction being had, it was less. I believe you can definitely suspend habeas corpus to try and calm down the populace, get it back to a peaceful protest instead of rioting and destroying buildings. I believe New York did have the right. I believe that would be one of the circumstances where it could be helpful, but it gets very dangerous because then where's the line between peaceful protest and a riot? I think that might need to be something that needs to be seen throughout the days. And you asked for an example of another example that happened, and it's very interesting. Yesterday, I was reading a news article about the scamming industry and computers, and since computers has become more of a, I'd say, wide scale thing throughout the years. They're so much easier for hackers to get involved online, terrorist groups to coordinate online, and for just the scamming industry has evolved so much online, and very good times for habeas corpus to be suspended is whenever they have located a couple of these industries and can just go down and swoop in there before they communicate to get them all done.
Time.
Thank you.
Okay, now I guess I can give you some feedback. I apologize. I think it's the post-lunch thing, and I had to change where I'm sitting because my laptop's battery was going out and I had to hook up again. But we're all good. We're here. And enjoyed your presentation, enjoyed the cohesion. You have a real flow. I think you guys are friends. It seems that way. And that's a wonderful thing. You engaged in a genuine way with the core concepts. You showed a understanding of the most important principles. You had a comfort and a finesse about answering our questions in a natural way, saying what you really think. You weren't rehearsed. You weren't robotic in your answers. And I think you have a lot to be proud of. It takes a lot to get here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I would second that. I really liked your presentation. It felt much more like you were sitting there having a conversation with us, which is exactly what you were doing, talking about some just, unlike most of my conversations, you guys were talking about really, really important things. I want to challenge you about a couple of ideas. You talked about we're a free country. Well, what does it mean to be a free country? Because that's a word that just about every country I've ever been to throws around, even countries that we would decide are decidedly not free.
You're free to do what the government says you could do, Tandy.
And every country, including the United States, has limitations on the freedom. And where do we put those limits? And what happens to you if you step over those boundaries? So avoid those slogans. They can too often be a substitute for thinking. But on the other hand, you were thinking a lot. You were thinking effectively. I thought your comment about Hugo Black was one of the most powerful things I've heard all day. And I'm glad you put Pinckney in there as the source. I didn't realize that he was the advocate for habeas corpus. I knew he was an important lawyer in South Carolina and at the convention, but there we are. So awesome, great job, and really enjoyed talking with you.
I think there's a monument to him. Is there a monument to Charles? Is it Charles Pinckney? I remember a monument to him in South Carolina.
I haven't seen it.
Feedback.
Probably, but I don't know where it is.
Calhoun Monument, which has recently come down in Charleston.
Oh, it's not there?
They took it down in some of the events in the last couple of years or so.
Oh.
Literally been taken down out of Marion Square in Charleston.
Okay, so let me just get one piece of feedback. Anna, am I coming across okay?
You are.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what was going on. I liked how you didn't shy away from the Black Lives Matter related question with suspending habeas corpus. I mean, that's something that hasn't totally played out yet. So we don't know what the end result is. And sometimes it's very difficult to talk about something that's actively happening in a way that's constitutionally appropriate and without any extra guidance coming in, because we don't know what the end result is going to be. We don't know in the end if it will be deemed justified or not. So I think that's very brave. I also, one last thing, you brought up a few times technology and the impact of technology. That would have been an interesting thing to bring and show the change over time. So how do constitutional principles, not just habeas corpus, but how do all these principles adapt and change over time with changing technologies and changing circumstances? And that would have been an interesting thread to pull a little bit deeper with. The last thing we usually follow up with is where are you going to college?
Clemson.
UCLA.
Oh, we got a Bruin. All right. Tigers and Bruins.
Yes, sir.
UCLA is a tough school to get into. I know that. Right?
Yes, ma'am. 160,000 applicants this year. It's
Woo!
yes.
How many people go there?
The freshman class is